Robert Baratheon was a terrible king, a terrible father, and a terrible man. Robert Baratheon did nothing for 16 years while he let other men rule his realm. And I'm certain that people are going to say, oh, but that's what a good king would do. He would notice his inadequacies and he would let other people rule in his stead. And that's true to an extent. But Robert let corruption run rampant in his courts. Littlefinger owns almost all of the lesser like lords, not lesser lords, but the people with lesser titles. Like he owns the keepers of the keys, the gates, a lot of the tax collectors. He owns so many people in court that he might as well just be king by how many connections he has. Like all the people that deal in trading and finance are Littlefinger man. Varys has spies all around the court who know everything, which if Robert was to keep Varys in, that's just going to be an inevitable. If he wanted that to be gone, he'd have to remove Varys. So maybe that's like a win-loss kind of situation where either way, bad things would happen. But another aspect of Robert Baratheon that really shows his failing is he is a terrible father. Now, we all know that technically none of his kids are trueborn. They're all, not his, they're incest babies. But he didn't know that. He thought that they were his kids. So when he beats the shit out of Joffrey and almost kills him, that's his kid that he's hitting. Now, of course, the situation in which he hit Joffrey is definitely a bad situation. He did just do something absolutely insane. But Cersei also remarks that he never showed an ounce of love towards Joffrey. So perhaps Joffrey being this evil, cruel child is maybe just some way of him trying to desperately find a way to connect to his father. Because he heard all these stories about how his father was this amazing warrior and fierce on the battlefield and he loved violence and killing. So it could be that Joffrey commits violence because he thinks that that might give him approval from his father. Now, of course, Joffrey didn't truly love his father that much. He remarked about it that a lot, but no kid really doesn't crave his father's approval. I don't doubt that Joffrey, like some small part of Joffrey, wanted Robert's approval. The one scene in particular that people bring up is when Joffrey skins that one kitten alive to see if she really was pregnant, and when he told Robert that Robert hit him so hard that Joffrey almost died, or at least Cersei believed that Joffrey was dead. And this is a failing of Robert, not of him hitting Joffrey because of what he did, but because he let Joffrey get to this point. He should have been a more active father to realize that Joffrey is at a state of mental unwellness. He did okay with Tommen and Marcella. They both turned out to be good kids. We know that Marcella is polite and kind, and she knows all good court gestures and manners, and she's quite smart. They mentioned that Marcella is smarter than Tommen, which makes sense. She's a year older than him, and Tommen is just a sweet, kind young kid. You know, he has Sir Pounce and his other cats. He loves to like play and be nice. He hates beetroots and peas, like all good kids should. But that was kind of just luck of the draw, I believe, because we all know that Robert did nothing with his kids, and he cheated on his wife so much, which is just an absolute moral failing. Because in my opinion, even if you have a wife that you despise, you shouldn't be cheating on her that much unless you've like talked about it and you realize and you both agree like, okay, this is a purely political marriage. How about let's do some stuff outside the marriage bed? But they never had that conversation. Robert just loved sleeping with other women so much. Robert was such a womanizer that he slept with a woman right before his own brother's wedding, in his brother's wedding bed, which is just a terrible thing to do. He was a horrible brother as well. He was not very good to Stannis. He slighted him of tons of things. Now, of course, I'm sure Stannis saw invisible insults wherever he wanted to, but Robert still wasn't that great of a brother. He kind of just ignored Renly and Stannis, as far as we can tell. It seemed to be more Stannis that actually cared about his brothers, besides the whole like shadow baby assassin thing. But that's not really important. I think another part of Robert's character that we need to understand is that he wasn't that good of a fighter. Robert has one good feat, and that's it, which is that he fought Rhaegar to a standstill. He killed him while only suffering a minor wound that maybe kept him out of the fighting for like a couple months at most. Other than that, he's killed no one else of renown. He killed 3 minor lords of the Stormlands, and then that's it. We know nothing else. We know that he loved to fight in melees at tournaments, and we know that he loved fighting. But they don't talk about any other martial feats. Like, we know he fought in a ton of battles. We know that he sieged the gates of Pike, and that's it. I'm not saying that he isn't a great fighter. I'm purely just saying he's not this demon that people make him out to be. I know there are people that believe he could take on Jaime Lannister, Arthur Dayne, Barristan Selmy, Sandrock the Shadow. Like, there are some people that think that he's the greatest fighter to ever exist, which is just not true. He was a very tall, very strong man who loved to hit things. Of course, he's going to be a good fighter. He's going to be a great fighter, but he's not one of the best fighters. I wouldn't even put him at top 10 fighters of all time. I think another aspect of Robert that we need to understand is he was an idealist. He loved the ideas of things, but he never loved the execution. Think about Zabalar Zo in the court. He would come year after year pleading for Robert to give him arms so he could go invade the Summer Isles and kind of reclaim what he thought was his rights. Even though if you know anything about Summer Island culture, you would know that he has no rights to the Summer Isles. He just wants to invade for no reason. But Robert, it said that he always thought of taking the Summer Islands as some fun feat, as something that he would love to do, and it would be just amazing and so much fun. In fact, Robert even suggests to Ned that they could run away together and go like fighting off in the disputed lands. Yet he never actually does anything. Like, he talks about how great of a fighter he was and how he loves fighting, but the second that there's nothing interesting to do, he just immediately gets super fat. Like, there are plenty of people that were great fighters that didn't get fat after the wars. Barristan Selmy, Jaime Lannister, I don't know. You got Quentin Ball, all these, like, you have all these great fighters that in times of peace, they still, like, kept to their training. So it shows that Robert didn't love, like, swordplay. He didn't really love fighting. He kind of just, like, beating people up. Also, just swing back to Robert being a bad king. He was just terrible at finances, like absolutely horrible. His only good decision was kind of appointing Peter Baelish, and I say kind of because Peter was great at like money and whatnot, but he also was like super self-serving. So I guarantee you that guy was stealing some money or doing some like financial crimes. Also, in the span of 16 years, he put the crown 900,000 dragons in debt. And I understand that nowadays we understand debt to be kind of a good thing. It's like showing that you have money moving around. But in that time period, that is not a good thing. You want gold because you can't pay people with like interest and like loans. You have to have like physical cash on hand to pay people with. And also, they owe 300,000 dragons to a foreign bank. The bank that is notorious for sending assassins to kill you if you don't pay up. Like, it's said that if you were a king and you default on your loan, they will fund the other side to overthrow you and get their money back whatever way possible. They also owe 300,000 dragons to the Faith of the Seven, which terrible idea right there. And they also owe 300,000 dragons to the Lannisters of the Rock. So he owes so much money to all these people, and he did it in 16 years. Mind you, he inherited like one of the best like coffers and like financial states of all time, because he came from the reign of 20 years of Aerys, and Aerys was the Mad King, but like, you know, it was still pretty peaceful under his time. Jaehaerys II had like an okay year, and then Aegon V was like a great king. It was pretty prosperous during his time, so there's no reason why Robert should have just absolutely ruined all that in less than 2 decades of ruling. And it's purely because he had no interest in actually doing anything that would resemble being a good ruler. It said that he had like rich Mirrors carpets and like paintings, and he loved feasting and hosting like tournaments. So it just goes to show that he didn't use his money to like, I don't know, invest in infrastructure or giving food to people in the wintertime. He just spent all of it on like his himself. So we've already laid down the fact that Robert was a terrible king, a terrible father, a great fighter, but not one of the best. But let's talk about why he's a terrible friend. Robert and Ned were apparently inseparable as kids. They're supposedly the best of friends. Great. Yet they didn't speak to each other for 16 years. And I understand that they're a world apart, but send a letter, my bro. I understand that, like, the Raven goes two ways. Ned should have sent a letter as well. But I'm going to tell you right now, Ned probably sent a letter or two. And I guarantee you Robert probably just didn't respond to it. Terrible friend in that regards. The only time he actually talks to Ned in 16 years is when he wants a favor from him. The favor that gets Ned killed. Rob is also, like, a pretty bad friend to, like, anyone else because he didn't really have friends. Like, his best friend besides Ned was probably John Aaron, and for all we know, they had a good relationship. But then, John Aaron got killed by, I guess, his, like, sister-in-law. Like, Rob's, I don't know. He got killed by his wife, but, like, different incident altogether. So Rob was not the best of friends to Ned, but he was also a terrible father to his bastards. Like, I talked about, he was a bad father to Cersei's kids, but he was a terrible father to his own kids as well. Edric Storm is one regard because, yes, Edric Storm did have a great life. He got sent all these gifts from the crown. But here's the thing. Edric Storm worships his father. He loves him so much. And every year when those gifts are sent, he thinks his father, who loves him very much, is sending them. But we learn that Varys is the one that is sending those gifts all along. So his father actually cares practically nothing about him. And Edric Storm is the lucky one because he's one of the ones that actually gets to be recognized. We know of 3 other potential bastards. We know of Maya Stone, Bella from the Stony Stepped, and then we know of Gendry. Maya Stone she's got an okay life. She has, like, a pretty decent job in the Vale, but I mean, other than that, Bella doesn't even know who her dad is. They think it's the king because, he shabonked her mom, but cares nothing about her. Gendry is another one. He was fathered by just a random woman, and his dad didn't care anything about him. The only reason why he's in this whole mess because his father was who he was. He almost died because of Robert's inadequacy in, like, protecting his bastards. Robert had 16 bastards, which is insane. That means that if he had, like, he slept with, like, probably 10 women a year. But not to ramble, I'm just going to wrap this up real quick, real nice, put it in a bow. Robert was a terrible king because he let corruption run rampant, and he did nothing to curb that, while also allowing the crown to go into severe debt. Robert was a terrible father for not showing any interest in raising his children or doing anything about the 16 bastards that he had. And Robert was a terrible friend for not reaching out to Ned for 16 years until he actually wanted a favor from him. And once again, if you disagree with this video, feel free to leave a comment down below. But I do think I'm right, or else I wouldn't be making this video. Ta-ta.